Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Morning Glory video. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the 4 typical player types that you will find at a Warhammer 40k tournament. Now, I understand that humanity is a rich tapestry of peoples and personalities, and everyone is individual and unique. But you would be amazed at how consistently these particular personalities will congregate around the competitive scene of Warhammer 40k. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some people listen to this video and they go, Mordian, get out of my head. You've just described me down to a T. And you may find that you fall into multiple personalities. Maybe you're a little bit of column A, maybe a little bit of player B. Or maybe you listen to this and it's total bollocks and it doesn't relate to you in any way, shape or form. That's totally possible. This video is just intended as a bit of fun, maybe teasing, poking a bit of fun at the competitive scene, but it's all meant with good humour. But with all of that said, let's buy our tickets, roll some dice and dive right into today's video. So our first player type is going to be the White Shield, the Conscript, the red shirt of 40k tournaments. These will typically be newer players, either people that have got into the game with the release of New Edition, maybe they picked up Leviathan with 10th, or they are a returning player, often someone that played the game as a kid and they went away with it when they entered their teenage years and they decided maybe they were going to enter into some tomfoolery, you know, being a teenager, typical teenager. And then as they've grown up, got a job, become an adult, and they've got a little bit of spare cash, they've decided that they want to revisit this thing that was maybe a part of their childhood growing up. Either way, these people tend to be fairly inexperienced, and either they've dusted off their old models or they've finally built up their collection or restored their army to about 2,000 points. They're not running an optimized list, they're not particularly experienced, and it's not uncommon for these people to go a GT 0-5. Maybe they'll win one game and go 4 losses. But amazingly, they don't tend to mind getting smashed. They're just happy to be at the event. They're just happy to play some games. They just feel like they've reached a milestone by even going to the tournament. They're probably a bit nervous and excited. They probably couldn't sleep the night before, so they're chugging a Red Bull or having a strong coffee in the morning. But either way, they're making loads of mistakes and they're having a great time doing it. However, it's important to note that not all White Shields will like the tournament experience. Maybe they thought they had a pretty good list, a pretty good chance, they got their hopes up, they've beaten their friends a few times, and they go to an event and they are quickly disabused of those illusions. And it's a little bit of a bittersweet experience. They enjoyed the fact they went to the tournament, but they felt like competitive 40k was a bit too cutthroat for them. And maybe they don't quit the game, but they just decide that, okay, I've been to tournament now, I'm just going to stick with playing in the basement battles. Or what you find with, I would say, the majority of conscripts is they get the bug. They get addicted to it and they come away from the tournament. They go back to their friend group and they tell them about all of the crazy things that they encountered, and they can't wait to put the lessons that they learn, because you often learn more from your losses than you do from your victories, and they can't wait to put the lessons that they learned from their defeats into action and start improving their list, because they are already signing up to the next monthly tournament at their local shop, and probably the next 2 more after that as well. Small side note here, there is an interesting phenomenon with White Shields where they always seem to travel in pairs. Typically, you'll find that it's 2 friends that got into hobby at the same time. They've been playing the crap out of each other, been doing loads and loads of battles, and now, as brothers in arms, they decide to go to their first event together. And you just know that the journey home, the car ride, is going to be full of stories and swapping tales of what happened and how each player found the event. Generally speaking, you tend to find that white shields and conscripts are on the younger end of the age spectrum. Perhaps they're 16 to 18-year-old kids who have got some money coming in, they've got some birthdays and whatnot, and they're old enough now where they can be dropped off at the hobby store, look after themselves for a day, and the parents will pick them up once everything is done. Or you've got students who have got that student loan in, and they're not going to spend it on food, obviously. They're going to spend it on buying Warhammer models, and they've got a lot of spare time. Or you'll find people who are in their early 20s, maybe as old as 25, 26, who have left university, left higher education, maybe just started finding their way into the hobby, rekindling that childhood interest, and they've hit their stride in their career, and they finally got a bit of spare money where they can start getting back into 40k and do it properly, as they say to themselves. You can find older people than this in the conscript category, but they tend to be in our next player group, which I like to call the Longbeards. Now, there is no particular age restriction on Longbeards. Anyone can consider themselves to be in this category. The defining moment, the defining thing about them, though, is that they basically play one army. Maybe two at a push 3, but they are defined by one particular faction. Maybe they've always been an Eldar player. They've got models from Rogue Trader. Maybe they've always been a Guard or a Space Marine or an Orc player. It doesn't matter. They have a huge amount of their personality and there's a huge amount of emotional investment that they've got in one particular faction. And they'll always be that. No matter how good they are, no matter how bad they are, they will always play that one army and that one faction. Longbeards tend to be really embedded in the community. They're going to be part of a local club. They're always going to turn up on hobby night, on game night, and they're always going to buy a ticket to the local event to support the TOs. They'll always help with setting up, and they'll make sure to say a big thank you to the tournament organizer afterwards as well. They'll also help out in regular gaming nights as well, being that person that's always happy to play someone who's new down the club and to introduce them to the game and show them the ropes. I would say that Longbeards tend to make up the majority of most Warhammer 40k communities, and they're a really solid group of people and a great foundation that many clubs rely upon. Longbeards are awesome and they're generally really easygoing, but they also can be the group that grumbles the most about the game. It's not an uncommon sight to see an older Longbeard with his beautifully painted 3rd edition Ultramarines, bright Technicolors and green Goblin bases, grumbling about how his tactical Marine squads with flamers and missile launchers should be able to take on anything in the game, and that all of this power creep and stuff and codex malarkey is really starting to cause issues with the game as they're getting blown off the table by a young conscript who's maybe going there with his freshly painted 3 colors and a finger smearing of Astro Granite on the base Custodes army. Now, these first 2 categories definitely describe what I would call the semi-competitive crowd, the casual gamers, the people that are going to tournaments but they don't really have any ambitions to win them. For them, it's more of a social thing. They're going to turn up, they're going to play some games, they're going to have a chat, maybe a few beers, maybe eat some junk food, go home and tell the missus all about it while she's disinterestedly listening and instead more focused on looking at Instagram reels. Then we get to the more competitive side and the categories of players that are in it to win it. First up, we have the whackers, the people that want to win at all costs. For these people, winning is everything. This is how they derive enjoyment from the game. Hobbying, painting, and lore are secondary, if not tertiary concerns. Some of these people may have almost no knowledge of the lore of a particular faction, and they don't care. It's not for them. That's not how they get fun out of the game. Hobbying and painting is something that they might do because they have to, but if they can afford a commissioned painter, typically they will use one. These people do not associate with one particular faction. 1 month they may turn up with Marines, then a balance patch will come out, then they'll use Eldar, then an FAQ will drop, and then they'll use Tau. They will chop and change, switch it up, and they're always going to be trying to be the tip of the spear, the edge of the meta, trying to use the most powerful and broken combinations they can do to make sure that they can secure victory as easily as possible. Now, the other players, especially the Longbeards, tend to look down on the Whackers and dislike and sometimes even despise them. They do not get on with them. And that's because Longbeards tend to see them as the complete opposite of what 40k should be about. 40k should be about getting into the hobby, about your dudes and hobbying and painting. But for the Whackers, none of that's really important. It's about winning games. However, it's important to not dislike another person for how they enjoy the game. And it's important to note that you tend to find most Whackers are very open about what they're doing. They're not trying to hide behind the facade of being a nice guy. They wear their heart on their sleeves and they say, yeah, I brought a powerful list. It is broken. I'm trying to win the event. I want to go away with the prize support. I am here to win. So at the very least, what you can say about Whackers is, by and large, they might be tryhards, but at least they are open about being so. Unfortunately, even though they make up a tiny percentage of the player base, if you go to a one-day event and there's 30 people there, you would be lucky to find more than 3 Whackers there. Typically, there's sort of 1 or 2 in every small event. But despite that, there's not very many of them. They are the cause and the source of the majority of negative interactions that people have at tournaments. These people sometimes get caught up in the heat of the moment, and when they really want to win, they start arguing, they start getting into disagreements with the person across from them, and they will win at any cost, even if that includes bending the rules and interpreting them in a way that may be favorable to them, or even breaking them. Pretty much exclusively, every single one of the Tales of a Tournament Gamer videos that I've done, where I've come across some of these particularly crazy people at tournaments, they have been members of the Whacker community. Now, the Whackers like to think that they are top of the food chain, that they are the big dogs. But that's not the case. This honor is reserved for our final category of player, the Giga Chads. These players are truly some of the best. The highest skilled, they tend to use very well painted armies. They might chop and change between factions as the need arises, but they still at least partially associate with one. They may not be able to play them because right now they're not meta, but they still consider themselves to be, let's say, a battle player. They will go to tournaments, whether it's an RTT, a GT, or a super major, and they will win it. Their community tends to consist of some of the best players in the world. Although you could have local Giga Chads as well. That one guy who always wins the local events. But the difference between Giga Chads and Whackers comes down to personality. Whereas Whackers almost have this insatiable thirst. I've got to win, I've got to win, I've got to win. It doesn't matter what it takes, I've got to win, I've got to win. Tend to find that Giga Chads are really chill, really laid back, and really friendly. They are gonna fuck you, but they're gonna buy you dinner first. They accept there's a social contract. They understand there's a human being on the other side of the table, and they're sensitive to that fact. They understand that victory is everything and it's important, but they also need to be magnanimous in victory. They need to understand that they can't just walk all over the person and make them feel small and tiny. These are the kind of players that you'll have a game against them, you'll get your ass thoroughly trashed, and yet for some reason you really enjoyed it. They're also the kind of player where at the end of the game, if you ask them for advice, they won't force the advice on you. Sometimes Whackers will start going, oh, you need to do this, you should do this, oh, you should get this faction. Giga Chads aren't like that. They will wait for you to come to them. And if you say, oh mate, like, you've absolutely smashed me here, what could I have done differently? They will go, well, I got a little bit of advice for you if you want, if you're interested. No pressure though. And then they'll take you through and maybe it'll take them 10, 15, 20 minutes, but they'll just patiently answer all of your questions, and after talking to them, you'll genuinely feel like you're a better player, and maybe you'll go into your next game and you'll remember what they told you, and then you win the next one. They're really knowledgeable, they're really friendly, and they're overall really great blokes. You tend to find that some of the biggest names in competitive 40k right now consist of these Giga Chads. You've got people like Matt Robinson, who I've mentioned several times on this channel, who is the best Sisters Battle player I've ever known. He went 50 plus games in a row undefeated with Sisters during 9th edition. And yet he plays all the different factions, but he just loves his sisters. He would consider himself probably a Sisters Battle person. You've also got people like Manny Chima, Josh Roberts, and then that's all the UK names. Then over in the States, you've got people like Nick Navati, and you've also got Richard Ziegler. You know, these sort of household names in the 40k community who they go to tournaments, they win them, they smash them, but whenever you chat to them, they come across as pretty much just like normal blokes that just like 40k and just happen to play it an absolute ton and are really, really good at it. But with all of that said, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What kind of player do you think that you are, or are you a combination of several different ones? Also, are there any other kind of players that you think that I missed out? Let me know, and if I get enough interesting ones, I might make another follow-up video to this one. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, and of course, subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the Call of Duty. So a massive thank you to Bon Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, August Vardy, and the Tommies. Thank you guys, your incredible support makes a huge difference, and it is a big part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.